Good evening, everybody. Keith Engle here for TGI Sports Talks College Football Huddle, soon to be the Sports Huddle again. I was asked today whether basketball will be making a comeback, and it will at the proper time. We can certainly get into basketball anytime anybody wants to chat about it, but football dominates right now. We got some breaking news tonight, which we'll get into. I want to welcome everybody watching tonight on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. All the groups that allow us to share, the great groups. Some of you see at the bottom of the at the screen here, scrolling all the time. John Gonzalez at the Sports Authorities, Greg Rawlings at America's Pastime. Doesn't necessarily fit the college football huddle, but Greg is a great backer of the show, as is John Gonzalez from the Sports Authorities. All these guys. Our Flo and Can from the Bottom Line Sports podcast. They do their podcasting on Let's Talk Sports, also a good friend of the show. Ken Krause from Golf Bud Sports of All Sorts, and dozens more, guys, dozens more. That's where all our views are coming from, and I thank all of you. Quick thumbs up to DDH. You know who you are, or we all know who he was. A very influential guy in what's happened with Let's Talk Sports, and somebody that I enjoyed working with. And, of course, today here on the McGrath streaming podcast project. How's that, Brian? We celebrate Mac McGrath on his birthday, the late great Mac McGrath. So happy birthday, Mac! Thank you for the years that we had working together, bringing this mishmash of shows together, and we're trying to continue in your honor, buddy. So congratulations. Congratulations. Happy birthday. Frosty the Snowman here. Lots to talk about today, guys. Obviously, we got the whole college football playoff and the fallout from that. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about some coaching news. We got some breaking coaching news. We'll talk about the way all of this affects maybe future things in college football. But in some breaking news, Sherrod Moore gets fired today as the head coach of Michigan for not being able to keep his hands and other things in the places they belong. I don't understand these guys. He's married. He's got, 2 or 3 kids. Man, you don't crap where you eat. And if you can't be true to your family, how do as a university, I can't be true to you. I'm sorry. And I know that, we talked about this on the previous show, the unprofessional professional show. I don't think there's anything to the fact that they use this as a reason to get rid of Sherrod Moore. Sherrod Moore did a great job there the last 2 years. He lost 16 guys, I think, 15 guys, whatever, off a championship team. And beat Ohio State last year and won his last 8 games. He overperformed this year with a true freshman quarterback who played great at times and terrible at times. Do they need to improve? Does he need to improve? Absolutely. But where are they going to find a better coach than Sherrod Moore now if that were the reason? The reason is the man's a moron and can't keep certain things where they belong. And I have no remorse. I have no sympathy for Sherrod Moore. I'm sorry. Check out the Christmas tree behind me today, by the way, guys. Put my Christmas tree up behind me. I used to have a Patriots tree, but now it's adorned with some of the cards that my good friend Matt out west sent me. So anyway, I don't know how that goes with Sherrod Moore, but where are they going to go now? Where are they going for a coach now? Again, we talked about Penn State. And the music had stopped, and there was no chairs. Well, they found Matt Campbell, who basically to me is probably going to be James Franklin 2.0. Matt Campbell's a really good coach. Right? I never said that James Franklin wasn't a really good coach. I said he's probably never going to win the big one. Maybe Matt Campbell goes out and beats Michigan and beats Ohio State and wins a national championship, and I'm wrong. But his record at Iowa State, and by the way, that's not Penn State, so I get it. His record against ranked teams is not much better than Mr. Franklin. So we'll see how that works out. But Sherrone Moore out. Where do they go next? I don't know. I really don't. You're going to hear lots of rumors. John Gruden will come up. Team seems to come up for every job now. Lane Kiffin. I'm just kidding. Going to be interesting. But we'll get into all that. Hello, Michael. Good to have you with us. Hello, Rick. Still snowing out there, is it? Can't see. I don't have any light out the back here. My wife doesn't turn the back light on so I can see what's going on my window. Anyway, I don't even know if that's the top story tonight. That is the top story tonight. I don't. How does John Gruden at, I don't know, 60 plus years old? How old is John Gruden? You're going to be a first-time college football coach. Look how that's worked out for Bill Belichick. It's a different world, man. I just don't see it. How old is John Gruden? I love Gruden, by the way. I like to see Gruden back in the NFL. I don't think 62 years old. I don't think college is the right place for him. I don't think he's done any coaching in college anywhere. If I'm not mistaken, let me see. Does he have any assistant jobs? Southeast Missouri State, Tennessee, graduate assistant, Pacific. All right. But he's been in the NFL strictly since 1990. I'm trying to think of pro coaches that have gone and had some success. Jim Mora did, but I think Jim Mora coached more in college before he actually went to UCLA after a couple of NFL jobs. I'm trying to think of some other guys that actually did well, and none are coming to me. So I don't know if it's a good fit or not, Michael, but you're the Michigan fan. If you want him, have at him. Great quarterback coach, I think. You win a Super Bowl with Brad Johnson, you can coach quarterbacks. He turned Rich Gannon into, a superstar. He couldn't play anywhere else. It's a good coach. Just not sure he's a great fit there. I guess a guy who would have been a good fit if he hadn't gone down in a burst of flames this year would have been Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly probably would have been a great fit at Michigan. But it's not going to be Brian Kelly. So we'll see what they do. It'll be interesting. The fallout over the poll, we all knew when it comes to the poll, Alabama should be out. Notre Dame should be in. Miami should be in. Problem is, we're not looking for the best 12, and the committee doesn't say we're looking for the best 12. The system isn't built to find the best 12 teams. Obviously, the best 12 teams are going to be in. Tulane and James Madison would be nowhere near this tournament. Neither would Oklahoma. There's a lot of flaws here that need to be fixed, and they continue to try to fix them. Fix problems as they come up. Well, it turns out we find out after the fact that this spring, Notre Dame had signed an agreement with the college football playoff hierarchy, which is the schools, by the way. The NCAA does not run the college football playoff. Everybody needs to remember that. I think people tend to forget it. The NCAA itself, nothing to do with the college football playoff. It is a separate entity run by the conferences. They reached an agreement with Notre Dame that after this year, and again, this didn't happen because of what happened this year. This was signed in the spring. That if they were ranked in the top 12, they would automatically get in the field. I don't know why we need to give them that. Why this hierarchy of the playoff? I don't know what to call them. The rulers of the playoff, college football playoff, don't try to force Notre Dame into a conference. This is the time to do it. So but we correct problems, and all you do is create more problems. Again, adding teams might seem like the right thing to do, but you're just going to have whatever you add. You're going to have an argument over who got left out. Good evening, Ken. Good to have you with us. Don't educate these folks. Which folks? Notre Dame went. Listen, this is just my take. Notre Dame went the last 3 or 4 years of kind of changing their reputation a little bit, a lot because of Marcus Freeman, I think, and the way he carries himself on the sideline, in the locker room, with the press, from villain to a somewhat likable program. Maybe not to some of you who are just true haters, but they ruined all that in 2 hours. I mean, right after the committee, I saw people going, oh, poor Notre Dame. I know maybe they should be out. Maybe they shouldn't. But, poor old Notre Dame. Well, they blew all that in 2 hours. The AD just went scorched earth on everybody, including the college football playoff and the ACC and everybody you can think of. And after doing some research today, I think I don't think this scorched earth policy with Notre Dame and the ACC is all about this year and a couple of Texas. What is the ACC supposed to do? Are they supposed to promote somebody other than an ACC school to get in? They don't get paid any money if they don't get anybody in the playoff. If Notre Dame gets in, even though you have an affiliation with Notre Dame in 24 other sports, they don't in football. They have a scheduling agreement. Gets them no money from Notre Dame. Notre Dame this year, I think it was this year, entered into a home-and-home series for the next 12 years, home and home, with Clemson, outside of the ACC's approval or purview. They're getting ready for the implosion of the ACC. We've heard about it for over a year now. Is this conference going to be able to survive? Well, Notre Dame was already looking for ways to do that. Notre Dame, do they need a league? I don't know. I'm not really concerned about the fact that Notre Dame's not going to a bowl game. Nobody's going to bowl games. 5 and 7 teams are saying no. Now, you do a disservice to your own kids, by the way. Forget about the money. Notre Dame doesn't need the whatever, $4 million or whatever they get, $3 million from a bowl game. But 3 weeks of practice for underclassmen is important. You take that away from them. The bowl system is dead. It's on its way. It's on its last legs. And when the playoff expands, it's going to get worse. I got a cat here somewhere. Truth, I'm not sure about what, but thank you. Can the ACC survive? Can't. I think they're going to have trouble. I mean, Notre Dame's got to. They want Notre Dame as a scheduling partner, right? But they won't give them any marquee games. That's why they went out and scheduled this. One of the reasons they went out and scheduled this 12-year home and home with Clemson, because they don't get Clemson and Florida State and Miami every year. They get Wake Forest every year. They get North Carolina State every year, and they get, they throw them a bone with Clemson and Miami now and again, Florida State now and again. Not that Florida State's the marquee game that it used to be, obviously. But look at, can the ACC survive? How can you when the top 2 teams and maybe the top 3 teams want out? And you're not able to compete now with the other 3 power conferences, including the Big 12. You're a notch below the Big 12. They had Notre Dame over a barrel. If they could have got Notre Dame in here in 2020 during COVID when Notre Dame couldn't schedule the games, they were going to have no season, and they allowed Notre Dame to play in the league. I believe they played in the league championships, the championship game, the conference championship game. But they didn't say, yeah, you come for 1 year, you come forever. They just said, yeah, come for 1 year. It's fine. I think Notre Dame's been plotting getting their teams out. They could take their other 24 sports, the Olympic sports, most of them we call, and go to the Big East. They could probably come up with a schedule, a representative schedule. If they were to enter into agreements with, say, Florida State and Miami, the same way they did with Clemson, keep USC on their schedule, keep Michigan on their schedule. Well, there's 5 games, five top games every year, mostly Florida State. Sorry. I've said for a while Notre Dame probably needs to go to a league, and they probably do. But I do think there are other avenues, depending on where things go from here. Obviously, the committee, the college football playoff, keeps bending over backwards for Notre Dame. They're not going to force them into a league, and until they do, Notre Dame has zero incentive to go play in a league. They would have been they'd have been in the playoff if they played in a league this year. But now the playoff has told them, well, if you're in the top 12, and I believe if they go to 14 teams, the agreement is if they're in the top 13, they'll be in. And if you're not top 13, how do you even have an argument? Cam has no comms with Notre Dame. Most teams are running from the games. That's a great point. I mean, how many teams opted out? 10? 5 and 7 teams are saying no. There's nobody at there's paydays. The big advantage, well, some of these schools, remember the Big 12 fined Kansas State, and Baylor, fined them $500,000 apiece. Maybe there was a couple other schools, I think, from the Big 12 who didn't go. Maybe Kansas. Let me retract that because I don't know. I know Kansas State and Baylor said no, and Big 12 fined them $500,000. There's 3 reasons not to say no. I don't know if I said that right. The money, which is split amongst the whole conference. And the practice, I guess it's only 2 things. The practice time, that's the big advantage to going to a bowl game. You're underclassmen. Yes, you're going to have guys opt out right and left. That's a fact of life. Get used to it. But the 3 extra weeks is huge for these teams. But these bowl games are going to go away. Notre Dame scheduled some big teams this year with 2 losses. They lost, no playoff. Again, they beat Notre Dame or Texas A&M, they're in. I said the same thing. Now, remember, before the fact, I'm a Hurricanes fan. Don't have any Hurricane paraphernalia with me here right now. But I said Sunday morning, wearing my U-top, I fully expected Notre Dame to be in and Miami to be out. And Alabama's a team that should be out. They won't penalize teams for playing in a conference championship game. They didn't move them 1 spot. We'll talk a little bit how the committee manipulated this and got Notre Dame out, by the way. I fully expected Notre Dame to get in, Miami to be out. And I said, while I felt Miami was deserving of being in the playoff, you wouldn't hear me crying like the Alabama fans last year. Sorry. Because you didn't take care of business. You had 2 of the worst losses of any team in contention. Not Alabama, who lost Florida State. But your losses were far worse than Notre Dame's. Your losses were worse than BYU's. You had a great win against Notre Dame. Other than that, so you gotta win. Your record everything should matter. You gotta stop using different criteria for different teams. And what they did was, again, the criteria they kept using, and the Notre Dame's big gripe and the bitch that they had was, every week of the Tuesday night, they were ahead of Miami, and in the playoff. Well, you should have seen it coming. The tea leaves were there. When they moved Alabama ahead, they were giving Alabama a cushion to lose to Georgia and a way to get Miami pitted directly against Notre Dame. That's what they wanted. They wanted them in the 9 and 10 spots, or the 10 and 11 spots. Alabama was in the 9 spot, so that they could compare them head to head. Because they said all along, if we get them side by side, we're going to use head to head, and that's what they did. But do away with these 5 weeks of shows. We don't need them, because I guarantee you, you'd have seen a totally different bracket if we didn't have anything revealed until after the game Saturday. Oklahoma, you'd be out. Alabama, you'd be out. Because we wouldn't have had to put them in, and you wouldn't know that we penalized Alabama for losing in a championship game. I get it. You got to have some incentive to get to a championship game. Do away with those games, first of all. They're irrelevant. Indiana, Ohio State, great game. Great win for Indiana. Wins a Big Ten championship for the first time outright in 80 years. Game means nothing, Ohio State. They dropped to the 2 line. You knew those teams were going to have 1 and 2, no matter what happened there. Topher Stewart. Five and 7 Rutgers. Yeah, there was like 8. Last count I saw. There'll be other teams probably that drop out. I mean, how many 5 and 7 teams are in these bowl games now, Can? Where's my bowl game list? I had a bowl game here. Let's find this. Oh, you're not going to give me schedules? You're not going to give me their... All right, we got to go to scores, I guess. This isn't going to work either. Bowls. Let me just look at some of these bowls. Give me records. How many bowl games are really going to matter to anybody? South Carolina State, Prairie View. Well, that's different. Boise State, Washington. Got a little interesting game, I guess. Troy, Jacksonville State. Old Dominion, South Florida. Louisiana, 6 and 6 against 6 and 6 Delaware. Nice for Delaware. Their first year, and a great job, by the way, by Deshaun Jackson in his first year, and their first year at FBS 1. Missouri State against Arkansas State, 7-5, 6 and 6. Memphis, NC State. Who cares? Washington State, Utah State. Got to be 5 and 7 teams here somewhere. Where are they? Cal and Hawaii? Does anybody care? New Mexico, Minnesota, UTS, Florida International. Penn State, Clemson, two teams. A lot of teams figured to be playing in the postseason, in the playoff. They're playing in Yankee Stadium in the Pinstripe Bowl, one of the bowls that needs to go away. UConn and Army, all right. Georgia Tech, BYU, some interest there, I guess. LSU, Houston. App State, Georgia Southern, 5 and 7 App State. There's your first one. That's how far they had to go. Maybe that's the only one. I mean, there's some interesting games here, I guess. But with all the kids that opt out, if you're a bettor, you can't bet these games. You don't know who's playing. And then the rest are all Rice and Texas. Rice at 5 and 7 and against Texas State. God, Wake Forest 8 and 4. Mississippi State in at 5 and 7. That's 5 and 7 teams in these bowl games. The last comment, brother, bowls are horrible. Perfect example is Hawaii football team, and they're playing in the Hawaii Bowl. It's great. Every time, I swear to God, every time I've seen Hawaii playing a bowl game, other than 1 year they had a tremendous year and played in the Sugar Bowl. I think they got killed. They play in Hawaii. That's so funny. Oh, my God. Is anybody going to be watching Rice on New Year's Day, by the way, when we got all these semifinal games? And I don't know if it's maybe it's quarterfinal games on New Year's Day. Who's playing New Year's Day? Rice? Oh, that's January 2nd. All right. So New Year's Day is reserved for the quarterfinal games. You're going to get 3 of them, and Ohio State plays on the New Year's Eve. Hello, Michael. How are you, my friend? Listening at work. Good to have you with us. Michael Abrams. Albert Flores. What's Albert? What's that for? Deshaun. Oh, did I say Delaware State? I'm sorry. You're right. Delaware State. My bad, Michael. Thank you for pointing that out to me. More reason for Delaware not to be there at 6-6. That's my bad. You know, I'm on, Rick. I'll bet you anything. Outside of the games that are playoff games, I'm not going to find, and I'm a bettor, I'm not going to find 4 games to bet the entire bowl season. Because, again, of opt-outs, coach is gone. Players don't want to be there if they are. And it'll be bad football. I'll be watching bad football in half-empty stadiums. What's the point? All these games are just freaking fodder to fill up ESPN's schedule for the month of December. I mean, you can keep some bowl games. I'm okay rewarding some of these teams. I'm not bashing them all. Or all these games. I love it, rewarding Army. Well, let Army go play, a really good team. Let Army go play Boise State in the LA Bowl. We don't need the LA Bowl. In some other decent bowl. I don't even know what these bowls are. It's Staff DNA Cure Bowl. 68 Ventures Bowl. IS4S Salute to Veterans Bowl. Okay, well, we'll salute the veterans. I'm okay with that. Can we just call it the Military Veterans Bowl? We used to call them, didn't we have them? Or maybe we have a military bowl with that. The Cricket Celebration Bowl, the Xbox Bowl, the Myrtle Beach Bowl, the Union Home Mortgage Gasparillo Bowl, Union Home Mortgage. Oh, I already said that. Famous Idaho Potato Bowl. Bush's Boca Raton Bowl, the New Orleans Bowl, Scooter's Coffee Frisco Bowl, the Sheraton Hawaii Bowl. That's the Hawaii's home game. The Game Above Sports Bowl. Where is this? The First Responder Bowl, the Rate Bowl, Go Bowling Military Bowl. Can it just be the Military Bowl? And why is there no military teams in there? Can't we put Army and Boise State in that game? Or Army Pittsburgh? Pittsburgh's in the game. The Pinstripe Bowl. Unnecessary. Fenway Bowl. Unnecessary. There are so many teams. The Pop-Tart Bowl, I guess, is always fun because you get to eat the Pop-Tart at the end of the game. That might be an entertaining game. It was an entertaining game last year. Snoop Dogg Arizona Bowl. Last year it was sponsored by Dave Portnoy. By the way, never mind. That's a different topic. The Isleta, New Mexico Bowl. I do this every year. Tax Slayer Gator Bowl. Kinder's Texas Bowl. Where's the Liberty Bowl? There's the Independence Bowl, but it's got a huge thing again. Music City Bowl. Alamo Bowl. There's something I recognize. Sun Bowl still being played. Duke and Arizona State. Citrus. I just named about 10 or 12 bowls you can dump right now. If they're on, I turn them on. I'll have them on the, you know what I'll have them on? I don't have my iPad with me. I'll be watching Christmas movies with my wife and watching it on my iPad or my phone. The Rice in Georgia Tech. Right, Ken? Ken, remind me who's your team? There's AC. How are you, my friend? Playoff games only. Again, Rick's right. I will watch some of these games. Some of these games have some interest. Before I watch them, I'm going to see who's playing. Because, Rick, you like to call out Florida State for quitting. Everybody's a quitter now. You asked a question, I think, Sunday, or maybe it was this show last week, but I think it was Sunday. What team is going to be, the labeled the quitters because all the guys that opt out. Every one of these teams is going to have a bunch of guys opt out. You're going to have to check every game. The over-under for me for opt-outs is 10 on every team throughout the playoffs. 20 per game. And that may be conservative. What you got, Michael? I'll say this. I wait 8 months for more pro college football. I watch all the games I can. It's fair. It's fair. Again, if you want these games, then watch them. But the ratings for these games, the bulk of these games, I'm not saying every one of these games is unwatchable, right? But I'm telling you, you're going to see almost all of these games. The stadiums are half full. The corporations buy up all the tickets. ESPN is scheduling them for just fodder. If they're on, you want to watch them, they're great. There's a few games here I'll watch. Am I watching Rice and Texas State January 2nd? No. I'll watch Navy Cincinnati or Arizona SMU. I'll probably watch these games. Good bowl games. Tony the Tiger Bowl. Oh. I'm old school, man. I like my major bowl games, which we've got tied up in the playoff. I get it. But when I was a kid, there was, you had your New Year's Day bowl game. So you had, 5 or 6 games that day. You had the Rose Bowl. You had the Sugar Bowl. This is back in the Fiesta Bowl was the only one that broke in here. Cotton Bowl, Rose Bowl, Sugar Bowl, Orange Bowl. Fiesta Bowl broke into that in the 80s, I guess, maybe the late 70s. Citrus Bowl later on. And then you had a few other bowls, the Sun Bowl, the Alamo Bowl, the Liberty Bowl, the Independence Bowl. The Holiday Bowl came along, was always an exciting game. I can see having 10 bowl games outside of the playoff. I can't see any more than that. People will watch. Michael will watch because it's on. God bless him. I'm not disparaging him for watching the games. But there's really no reason to play them. The Toilet Bowl. No Hallmark movies. I'm talking about real Christmas movies like Die Hard. Elf. Christmas Carol. I thought you were a Bulldog fan. Your team's playing great. We should get into that a little bit too, by the way. It's funny. We talked about the playoff and what was going to happen Sunday morning for a while. Very few comments so far about the playoff. To me, Alabama needs to be out. The committee did what they could to manipulate this to get the Notre Dame and Miami next to each other so they could put the head-to-head in there. And I think that's fine. Just use the same criteria for everybody. Notre Dame fans, you got to give back for last year. Be happy, move on. Also, sorry if that. No, it's fine. Aggressive is fine on this show, Michael, because you'll hear me aggressive. And if I slap you down someday, you're free to slap me because I slap people down. I don't mean anything by it. I don't try to offend people. If there's like tons of opt-outs, I probably won't bother. I'll be watching the Clemson Tigers for sure. No, that's fair. Your team's playing. You should watch. Listen, I watched the Hurricanes play in a Pop-Tart Bowl last year against Kansas State. You know, I'm not, again, and Rick's right. It's not like I won't watch any games. But again, if I find 4 games to bet, it'll be a lot. Just because if you're betting more than that, man, you either got inside information or probably a problem. Opting out is the new norm. Hello, Danny, by the way. I didn't say good evening to you. How are you, Danny Fuller? Opting out's a new norm. It's only a matter of time that we'll go to a 2014 playoff. And then we'll have arguments about, the 25th and 26th teams. We'll use as many of the bowls and playoff games because you can't get enough teams playing in these bowls. I agree with it's only a matter of time before expansion. And I said Sunday, and I wish I had answers, right? Because I have more questions than I have. It's similar to the college playoff itself. I have more answers or questions than I have answers. I know what they're doing now doesn't work because they don't have a set criteria. Do you want the best 12 teams? Well, then you have to kick the group of 12 out or group of 5 out, group of 6 next year out. You want the 12 best teams? That's what you should go for. I like giving the little guy an advantage or a chance. A chance. But let them all in. Go to 24 teams. Let all the conference champions in. It's only 10. 11 next year. I could still give out 14 or 13 at large bids. That's plenty. But if you're going to do it this way, you need to take the best teams. Now, group of 5 teams can get in if they're among the top 12 teams in the country, or 16 or 24, if that's what it's going to be. If they go to 24, Danny, it's got to be the top 24 teams in the country by ranking. Then you don't have a problem. What's the rest of your comment here? Sorry, I tend to do that. And I read it all. Georgia's winning a national championship. Possibly. I got some other problems here, by the way. I'll talk about it in a second. Let me get through the rest of these comments. We'll come back. Danny's for you are passive aggressive. No. You're not passive or passive aggressive. You are aggressive. Right now, we'll look at this again harder next week. You got to look at the path. Where's the bracket? Why can't I get to the bracket here? There we go. Couple of things on this. I do like Georgia playing really good football right now. I think Ohio State's the eventual champion today. We'll do some more research. We'll look at some things as we go through the next week. We don't have games until the 19th, I think. Friday night. Miami plays that Saturday, I think, at noon. Couple things, though, with the bracket. There's the advantage of being number one, other than a bye, like the other 3 top 4 seats, is really irrelevant. Because Indiana has no chance to play the three worst teams in the tournament if they should lose. Or win, I'm sorry, if they should win. If Tulane should pull an upset, I'm not saying they will. They probably won't. Tulane won't. Old Dominion won't. Well, Miami won't. And maybe they don't want to play Miami, but I'm saying they're the 10th ranked team. But Indiana, the way it's set up, can't play them. They're locked into 9 and 8. You know, where it's possible, and this happened last year, I think. I'm trying to remember. I don't like the way the seeding gets done in a second round, right? The quarterfinals, if you will. I think they should reseed those teams that get in there. And Indiana should get the worst one because I don't like the way this is set up. Should there be an upset, they don't play that team that upset, the 5th or 6th best team. So I don't like that. As far as who I like winning, I'll tell you, Georgia's going to have to play Ohio State theoretically to get there in the semifinal. I don't like Georgia's chances of beating Ohio State, quite frankly. I like Ohio State a lot. I'd want to say Miami. I will pick Miami in my pools because that's who I want to root for. I may take Miami in a future bet. I got to go see what the odds are right now. AC, you might be able to fill us in on what some of those are because I haven't really looked. But Miami's got, I would say, and maybe I'm wrong, probably the toughest path through this playoff. And I'm not saying they shouldn't. They're the 10th ranked team, right? 10th seeded team, excuse me. They've got Texas A&M, which would give them Ohio State if they should win, which would give them Georgia or Ole Miss, most likely Georgia in my mind. Have to beat all three of those teams to get to the championship game and probably face Indiana. So I'm not going to – I'm just talking in general today. I think Ohio State will win this championship. I'm going to root for Miami. Next week, I'll go through the brackets and we'll make our picks. I'll tell you the picks that I made. The picks that I make in the bracket probably won't be the picks I'll make. Like I won't be betting Miami probably. I may make a future bet just because if the value is there. Honest assessment, who wins it all? Again, Ohio State right now, today. Next week may change my mind. As a fan, I'm going to root for my team, Miami. As a fan, if Miami goes down, quite frankly, I'll root for Ole Miss just because of the situation they were put in here. Coach leaving them high and dry. And don't blame the university. Lane Kiffin did a great job of trying to gaslight them. Rick says, for many kids playing in their last game in a bowl of any kind is the work that they started in Pop Warner at 6 years old. Listen, I don't disagree, Rick. I get it. But at some point, again, and they've worked hard. So I guess this next comment I was going to make is a little bit harsh. These are just participation trophy games. At some point, when 6 and 6 teams are playing 7 and 5 teams, 5 and 7 teams are playing 7 and 5 teams. I mean, I know you do feel the same way I do about participation trophies. You haven't earned anything by getting to these. I mean, by going 5 and 7 or 7 and 5, what have you earned your way into? And it does sound harsh because you're talking about kids that have worked hard since they're 6 years old. I understand that. I don't know. Maybe it's not as cut and dry as I try to make it. And I try not to be wishy-washy on these things. But got a lot of comments. Let me get to them. Seriously, a 2014 bracket giving 8 buys forces I think you're talking about a 2014 bracket giving 18 buys forces 8 games. Those 8 teams get buys, only having to win 4 games to win it all. 24. I'm not sure where we're talking about here. I know you're probably talking into your phone again, and usually I can make heads or tails of this, so I'm having trouble here. I'm okay. Listen, you want to play 2014 playoff, I'm fine. Right? But make it so the best 24 are getting in. And don't release any freaking rankings from the playoff committee until we're ready to seed the teams. They don't need to take the AC says they don't need to take the top 12. I understand that. The system is fine. They get at least the top 7 or 8 teams. Well, they didn't. I disagree. But they also give teams that didn't play a hard schedule a chance to see if maybe they do deserve to get in. Not 2 of them. This system was never built to have Tulane and James Madison in it. You have to admit that, AC. And I could argue that top 7 or 8 teams are not in this. Notre Dame is one of the top 7 or 8 teams right now. Again, you should be. I can argue both sides of this, by the way. I'm not crying a river for Notre Dame and telling them they should, take their ball and go home. But top 7 or 8 teams are not in there. I think Miami's in the top 7 or 8 teams, and they're in. If they'd been out, I would not have been crying them a river. I think Notre Dame's in the top 7 or 8 teams. Oklahoma is not. I'm not sure Oregon is. Sorry, Paul. I got you. I knew the 2014 part had to be 24. Hello, Flo. Good to have you with us. And by the way, with Flo here, and we're talking about this tournament again. Today, Ken wants to put me on the spot, and I said, honest opinion, right now, today, Ohio State's my favorite. I don't see a reason not to. Indiana loss, notwithstanding. That game meant a whole lot more to Indiana than Ohio State. And that's taking nothing away from Indiana. Watch out for Flo's Texas Tech team. They have got, I think the best defense in this tournament. Their offense, while it's the air raid offense, basically, they run the ball a lot more than an air raid offense historically would. But they really give themselves some interesting looks on offense. And I like this team and the way they're getting healthy, too. And I know Flo called me out a couple times for talking about them spending $55 million, but everybody spends money. I get it. They spent it well. My point when I talk about that is, God bless them. They spent their money well. They got some guys that look like they're 30 years old. For the college football playoff, my heart wants Oregon. They deserve one. Well, or Indiana. It would be cool to see them win it all. It would be cool to see them win. Head says Ohio State. Yeah, I'm with you. There's a lot of great storylines here, right? I mean, again, I've been a proponent of a playoff for a long time. The way we get here is ugly, and I don't like it, and I don't have answers how to fix it. I wish I did. Somebody's always going to have hurt feelings, and that's just life, and it's too bad. Pull up your freaking big boy pants and move on. I would have said that if Miami was out too, by the way, because I said it Sunday morning before these seedings were even announced. At the same time, this is a wonderful bracket full of great stories. Texas Tech, Indiana, Ole Miss, great story. Even Miami trying to get back to some kind of relevance. And then you got the big boys, Texas A&M maybe even. And you got the little guys in James Madison and Tulane. Probably no chance to win. But there's some fun stories here. Which is why we're going to spend, the next 3 weeks talking about this and not the other bowl games. We will. We'll take a look at them. We'll pick them if you want. Are there any games before we're on again? I don't think there are. If there are, do we care about them? Hold on. First games are Saturday, December 13th. So, yeah, there's games this weekend. I'll take Washington over Boise State. Not going to bet that game. 9.5-point spread, not knowing who the hell's playing. Not going to happen. And Tuesday. So there's 3 games before we get together again. Nothing I'm going to get excited about watching except Boise State, Washington. Might look at that Troy-Jacksonville State game a little bit. Canteen's Dogs versus my Red Raiders for the chips. For the championship. All the marbles. That'd be an interesting matchup. Listen, I am not going to count out Texas Tech. They manhandled twice a really good BYU team. A flawed team, but a really good team. Their only loss was to a good Arizona State team. The defense still played well. Their defense has been really good. And I like their offense is really, to me, starting to gel a little bit. I like the way they run that air raid style offense, but it's not, just 50 passes a game like you think of in that offense. I like what they do. Well coached. I think the winner of the Georgia-Ohio State game, if they both make it that far, is your winner. It's a good call. Hello, Dave Guyette out in Amsterdam. How are you? We won't be talking Syracuse tonight. Sorry. How's Syracuse doing in college basketball, by the way? We haven't even got to the point where they've got the NCAA men up on the tabs on ESPN. Let me just see. I'm going to see real quick. For Dave, because since Dave can't talk any football, sorry, Dave. How's Syracuse gotten off to 5-3 start? I don't think Adrian Autry's a guy. Danny has yet to pick a team of the 12 that I definitely want to win. I want Miami to win. I know you don't. And again, there's some other stories I'd like to see. All Danny will tell me is who I don't want. Quacks in Alabama or Oklahoma. You don't care about Miami winning? Wow, shocked. Paul's not here to defend himself, apparently, either. Just because you're the 10th best team doesn't make you more deserving than a smaller school that beat everyone they played or someone like that. You're probably right, AC, because remember when I'm talking about this, I'm talking about the system. The system we have now is designed to give one of the little guys a shot. That's all it was ever designed for. It wasn't designed to get the best 12. I agree with you 100% there. Again, the system that I prefer is to let all the league champions in so the little guys all get their shot. But then, if you did 16 teams and only had 6 buys or 5 at-larges, or 6 at-larges, whatever it might be, you're going to have still the same arguments. It doesn't matter whether you go to 16 or 24 or 82. Let's say you put all 132 in, or 131, I guess there is. you'll get arguments. The Bottom Line Sports are doing a Touchdown Talk Tuesdays, 7:30 NFL wrap-up show. Check that out on Bottom Line Sports. Flo and Can, good stuff. Remind me, and I'll be happy to share that show. I'll even share it live, as I'm not doing any shows at that time. I'm happy to share it live on my TGI Sports Talk page. Or after the fact, whatever works best for you guys. And I thank you for the support of this show, by the way. You guys are the best. Or at least among the best. Again, John Gonzalez might pop in here, and I don't want him to hear me say somebody else is the best. We love John Gonzalez, but we love all you guys. You see my favorite group scrolling at the bottom. There's dozens more that support us, and we appreciate that. The system is the best for everyone who deserves to get a chance. Not necessarily. This system, again, AC, they are consistent in what they do. Be consistent. That's all I'm asking. Use different criteria for different teams. Why does head-to-head only matter if you get, next to each other? Notre Dame far more deserving of being in this tournament than Oklahoma. Tell me I'm wrong. What's Oklahoma's best win? That offense is putrid. I can't wait to bet against them. I don't think this is the best system. This system is no better. Again, Danny and I agreed on this a little bit. I don't know if he's still in the same place. But part of me wants to just go back to the old bowl system and let the writers vote, and we can argue over who's number one, not who's number 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. With inconsistent criteria. At least our writers shouldn't know what they're doing. And by the way, you can't have a playoff committee that has active athletic directors with agendas voting in any way, shape, or form. They have to revamp this committee. You have to find a way to get impartial people who pay attention to the games. And we're going to disagree on this one for a while, probably, AC. I understand your point, and I want to give the little guys here. Again, deserving? Did they get it right when Florida State was left out 2 years ago? No, it was awful. I understand it was only 4 teams then, but there was the same type of criteria. The criteria is no different than what they're using for these 12. Well, I shouldn't say that. There was no automatic bids. Jeez. You can't tell me. Listen, again, I'm not here to carry Notre Dame's water, but don't tell me the 7 best teams are in when Notre Dame's out. Because they're not. They are under some criteria. They got beat head-to-head by the team that went in ahead of them. You would tell me they're not better in Oklahoma? I'll tell you they're better in Oklahoma. They're better in Oregon. They're better in Ole Miss. Today. I can figure it out now. Be careful driving, even talk texting, Danny. No way got the top 7 or 8 teams. Notre Dame was one of the top 4 teams. Thank you. I've been saying it since week 4. Keith's been saying it since week 4. So many of us are going to disagree with that. The fact that the 7 or 8 teams are in best. I agree. I mean, today, here's the thing. They give teams credit for playing better late in the season, and then they don't. They give teams, that's my whole thing, AC. In some cases, it's the overall body of work. In other cases, it's a head-to-head. In other cases, it's strength of schedule. In other cases, it's strength of record. I mean, you can manipulate these arguments into anything you want them to be. And again, I'm not carrying Notre Dame's water. They're out. I don't feel bad for them at all, not even a little bit. Beat Miami or beat Texas A&M and you're in. Join a conference and you're in. You make your bed. Flo says James Madison Tulane are going to get mollywopped. I agree 100%. I've never heard that term. But I agree. I'm looking for a good old-fashioned ass kicking. Notre Dame is not. They are top 7. Again, it's subjective. AC, right? You see what you see. I see what I see. I see a team that's gotten better every week. I understand you're going to downgrade their schedule, whatever. They didn't just beat these teams by a little bit. They're winning by 30 and 40 points every week, it seems. CJ Carr was getting better. The defense was as good as maybe Texas A&M's or Texas Tech's. I didn't say they're not in, so they don't deserve to be in. I didn't say they deserve to be in with the system that we have today. I didn't say that. You said the system today, you got the best 7 or 8 teams in. It didn't. Notre Dame's in that group, in my mind. Also, don't think Alabama deserves to be in. We'll agree on that 100%. Oklahoma doesn't belong in. Oklahoma's in only because they've got ranked the very first. Stop with the Tuesday night TV show. We don't need that. Not when you're going to tell me, first of all, Notre Dame's good enough all the way through for 5 weeks, and then you say they're not good enough. How do you do that? If head-to-head didn't matter for those 5 weeks or 4 weeks, whatever it was, why does it matter now? It should matter. Don't get me wrong. As I'm having this, understand the arguments I'm making. There's 2 different things here. There's the system, and the system that we have today, Notre Dame doesn't deserve to be in the way they set it up. That's fine. They can also be one of the 7 or 8 best teams in the country. And you can disagree with that. But we got a system where we got teams that don't deserve to be in getting in. You're arguing both sides of this argument. We really don't need more than the best 4 teams, really. Well, again, we're trying to overcome some of these arguments, right? And the arguments have only gotten worse, right? The yelling gets louder. Have you ever heard, again, think about the 4, right? We had a lot of gripes. And other than Florida State, there was a few times, right, where there was some screaming and yelling. But with the vitriol that we've seen this week and last year with Alabama, have we seen that type of vitriol since we went to 12 teams with the 4 team? We saw it with one time with Florida State, which was rightfully so. They earned their way in. There's no way you can tell. I'd love to know your thought on that one, AC. If you're going to tell me that teams deserve to be in and have earned their way in, which I'm guessing you're talking about, you've got to believe Florida State belonged in 2 years ago, and I don't remember where you stood on that. But even that, I mean, that created a big furor, right? But it seems like the last 2 years has been great. So the more teams we add, the more vitriol we get in the arguments. In a handful of times. Hell, you remember the BCS era and then when Big 12 got screwed, where I think Baylor and TCU were like 2 and 3 for every ranking, and then they moved. One of them lost. I think they played in the Big 12 championship game. One of them lost. They dropped them out. Again, so not consistent in penalizing teams that play in championship games. And one of them fell out. The champion fell out when they moved Ohio State past them. This isn't the best system. The best 6 teams after that give some underdogs a shot. Listen, I'll give all the underdogs a shot. I told you I want all the league champions in. Go to 24, like Danny said. It's fine. Put all the league champions in, though, if you're going to go to 24 teams. And if you're not going to do that, then don't take any of them. Take them all. And then you got 14 at-large bids, or 13. I have trouble with math. It's because there's 10 leagues now. There'll be 11 next year, I believe. Flo says his offense at Texas Tech is underrated. I agree 100%. Your starting quarterback missed like 3 games. We have 1-2 punch at running back. Bailey's our defensive end, leads in sack. And who's the linebacker? Fernandez? The guy used to be a quarterback. What an athlete. Tremendous player. Great story, too. And his wife, helicopter pilot. You start punishing teams for losing conference. Why? So why? If then you're going to have teams not want to play in conference championship games. I mean, I don't disagree. Alabama was horrible, should be dropped out. But how do you penalize them for getting to a conference championship game, but then reward somebody who didn't get to one, like Miami, for instance? Now, albeit through a ridiculous tiebreaker system. But again, Miami didn't get the job done to get to their conference championship. How do I reward them or someone like them? How does Oklahoma stay in the SEC above Alabama when they didn't get to the SEC championship game? Again, I'm trying to use logic here, AC. I mean, again, they didn't drop Alabama one spot for losing that championship game. They stayed in the same spot, and they did that so they could do what they wanted, which was have Miami and Notre Dame side by side. Saw that coming when they moved Alabama to 9 the week before. We do have Army-Navy this week, by the way. Great plug there, Flo. Thanks for bringing that up. I did want to talk about Army-Navy a little bit. This is going to be a fun matchup. Army 6-5. Navy with a really good year, I think at 11-2. They were in a playoff hunt until the last weekend of the regular season or so. It's always a fun game for me. It's the one true amateur game that we get all year long. And I will be rooting for Flo's Army Black Knights. I think they got one of the best coaches and one most underrated coaches in the country, in Jeff Moncton. You hear me say it a lot. I'm shocked he's still there. He's had a few chances had his tires kicked, if you will. I don't know what kind of opportunities he's had for real. I know South Carolina talked to him a few years ago. You know, whether he's been offered jobs and turned them down, I don't know. I know he loves it there, and maybe he stays there forever. I don't know. But Jeff Moncton is one of the most underrated coaches in the country, and I like Army to win this game. What is the and I'll probably bet this game, by the way, and I'll probably bet Army. Shoot, I'm in the wrong place here. Hold on. What's the line? Navy by 6. I'll take Army. Where are we playing the game? Baltimore? M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore. I liked it when it was in Philadelphia. Let's do it. I see Georgia in there and the Red Raiders. There's another call. Same thing Flo said. I can see it. Can you imagine how happy Paul would be if Oregon wins? We would never, ever hear the end of it. I'll kick him out of the group. I can block him. I wouldn't do that. I don't see it happening. Great coach. Dan Lanning's a great coach. I'll also make another prediction based on, again, I tried to tell Paul this. Dan Lanning's never leaving Oregon. Well, I predict Dan Lanning will not be at Oregon 5 years from now. Just the nature of the beast. Any more talk on Notre Dame's record and soft schedule? Again, they played They didn't play a soft schedule when you factor in the two teams they lost to. Now, they didn't beat them, I get it. But they lost by 4 to 2 of the teams in this playoff. Total of 4 points. Again, losses shouldn't count more than wins, but they were 10-2. They did win 10 games in a row. They did win almost all of them going away, blowing teams off the field. They did get better as the season went on. I'm not making a case for Notre Dame. I'm only stating facts. There's no way Notre Dame, again, with the way this playoff is set up and the format is put in place, I don't argue that Notre Dame shouldn't be out. I also can argue that they're one of the top 4, 5, 6 teams in the country. I mean, one thing doesn't eliminate the other. Thanks for sharing and thanks for the shout out, Flo. You guys, I swear to God, remember to just message me Tuesday night, at 7 o'clock or whatever, and I'll make sure I get on and share the show. I'll be happy to do that. You guys have been great supporting this show, coming here, and I'll try to get on now and again, too. I tend to forget the shows that are late at night. 7:30. That's 7:30 Central, right? 8:30 Eastern, man. I'm getting old. I get off this show, I'm tired. I'll go watch Jeopardy, and I'll probably go to bed. No, I shouldn't say that. I'm up watching football late at night. I don't get that much sleep. Michael's leaving now. Hey, great, Michael. Thanks for popping in. Thanks for straightening me out on that Delaware State snafu. Don't tell Alan OU is not deserving. I've been telling him. I know I appreciate a lot the way Alan supports his teams. He should. But I will tell you, I'm just not really one to look at my teams with rose-colored glasses. So if I think my teams belong in, it's because they actually think they belong in. I'm not saying Allen doesn't. I told you Miami, I would have had no problem if they were left out because they shot themselves in the foot. That's why I'm okay telling you Oklahoma doesn't belong. Alabama doesn't belong. Oregon, I'm unsure, is one of the best teams in the country. I have my doubts about some of these teams. I don't have doubts about Ohio State. I don't have doubts about Indiana. I really don't have doubts about Texas Tech. I have doubts now about A&M. I have doubts about Ole Miss. I have doubts about everybody else. Maybe not Georgia. System has to be ran. I agree, and I think we all agree except AC. Problem is, I don't have any answers. Got a lot of questions. There should be a cap of 3 teams per conference. If you can't be top 3 even in the SEC, you're not the national champion. That's fine. I really don't have a problem with that either, by the way. Unfortunately, that's not going to be the case because remember, here's the thing to remember. The NCAA doesn't run the college football playoff. The conferences run the college football playoff. The guys with all the power in the conferences with all the power in the college football playoff are the SEC and the Big Ten. And Notre Dame. They're the 3 biggest power brokers of the conferences. They're going to get their way. If they expand to 14 teams or 16 teams, they're going to get more automatic bids than 1. It's going to be at least 3. They want 4 in a 16-team playoff. They want 4 automatic bids. So you're going to get more of it, AC, not less, because as they expand this tournament, and it's not going to not expand, I don't. That's a double negative. That might mean it's going to expire. Anyway, you get what I'm saying. I agree with you. So again, I'm okay going to 16 or 24, putting all the 10 or 11 conference champions in. I'd also do away with conference championship games. I'd also put divisions back in. So these 16 and 18 team leagues have divisions if they're going to play a conference championship game. If they're not, then we need to play more games or something so we don't have tiebreakers deciding who gets in. And I would cap the number of teams they can get in at 3. That's fine. I agree. You can't get to third place in your conference you don't believe to belong. Notre Dame probably does have the best player in college football. Can't wait to see if he can run in the NFL. Love is a tremendous player. I think Love is going to finish third. We got the Heisman coming up after Army Navy. You'll get the Heisman announcement. I think probably 7 o'clock, maybe Saturday, maybe it's 8 o'clock. I fully expect it to be a very close vote between Mendoza and Pavia. Some of the places I saw, The Athletic has been doing their own mock polls exactly the same way and some other publications have done the same thing. All of them seem to have very close votes between Mendoza and Pavia, with Mendoza coming out on top virtually in all of them, but very close to where, one or two votes, one way or the other, might swing it. And Love, I think, will finish third. I don't think Florida State was a top 4 team, but I think they deserved a shot that year. They deserved a shot. They won. They were 12-0, 13-0, 13-0. Won the conference championship in a Power 4 conference, Power 5 at the time, I guess. Maybe it's still Power 4. And they don't even, they did belong. They earned their way in. I mean, again, by the logic they used to kick them out, their quarterback couldn't play, so they don't deserve to be in. How's Ole Miss deserve to be in with their coaches going to LSU? And I'm not saying I want to punish out the Mississippi State team, Mississippi team and their players. I don't want that at all. I also saw some of the assistants, more of the assistants that have left for LSU are going back to coach Mississippi in this playoff, by the way. I think 3 or 4 more assistants were returning there this week. Jacob Rodriguez, that's the guy I was talking about. What did I say? Did I say Rodriguez? Fernandez, I said, right? Sorry about that. He should have. I think he was one of the 5 finalists, wasn't he, Flo? I predicted, I think, many weeks ago that it would be Fernandez. No, who did I say it would be? The 2 quarterbacks in Love. Great player, though. Great story, too. Good night, Michael. Have a great show or a great night. Where are we here? Got to go to what you say. Prayer for me, would you? If prayers are something you do in Bible study, I probably need one. I'll be happy to go share last night's show, Flo. Absolutely. We also preview some of the upcoming NFL games. Absolutely. I'll be happy to go do that tonight as I'm sharing this show. I'll make sure I share that one to my pages. Thanks, Flo. Triple T Touchdown Talk Tuesday, 7:30. I'll be happy to do that. Got to remind me. I just forget. Sometimes I forget to share my own show. Happy birthday to Buck Miles. Hello, Chris F. Grave. He'd be 137 years old today, which would probably be some kind of record. He came out of Washington and Lee program. College also produced Jim Luckins, who stood 6'4" in the early 1900s. That's a big man in the early 1900s. Thank you, Chris. He was number 1 in the Heisman fan vote. Who's that? Your guy, Jacob? The man looks like he's 32 years old, doesn't he? Pretty cool. He won $250,000 donation to, I think, his wife's choice of charity during game day Saturday when he hit the crossbar. Second try. Jacob. He's a man's man. I'll tell you, he is a great, great player. He really is. And I've enjoyed watching him play. I mean, I'm excited to see him play when they get a chance in the playoff. What didn't I talk about today? Is there any other news? We talked about freaking idiot in Michigan. These coaches. Some of these people are just so stupid, man. You're married with 3 kids. How about you go home to them after practice and not, diagram and plays with the staffer? Hoosiers are going to be out with their defensive end daily, for the playoffs. Tennessee's eyeing Penn State's Knowles, defensive coordinator, one of the I think the highest paid defensive coordinator in football, if I'm not mistaken. Billy Napier, the new JMU coach. Is he the new JMU coach? Do I have that right? Yeah, he's a new JMU. He's going to be replacing Bob Chesney, who's going to UCLA. By the way, I said this. I think it's a great hire by UCLA. JMU coaches, they've had football for 51 years, only the last, I don't know, a handful of years in Division I, FBS division. They've never had a coach leave there with a losing record. And look what Kirk Cignetti's done at Indiana. Lightning doesn't always strike twice, but I think it's a great hire by UCLA. Kirk Cignetti's got to be one of the best, maybe the best coaching hire. I don't know. Maybe in my lifetime. I'm 65 years old. Maybe a little hyperbole there. They haven't won a national championship or anything, but you have to consider the history at Indiana. And tell me I'm wrong. We got a few minutes left here. Guys, I'm going to share. Hello, Robert. See Robert Butler. He's actually on now. He probably isn't watching anymore, but hello to Robert Butler, who I see was watching earlier. So check out Bottom Line, the Bottom Line Sports. I'll share their podcast from last night, Flo and Can, on both my personal page and the TGI Sports Talk page. So check that out. And I'll try to remember to do that for you guys weekly. A little friendly reminder would help because, again, I got a 65-year-old brain here. Too much going on. I don't know how I found time to work. What was I going to say other than that? Oh, check us Friday morning. Jack and I will be on with the Jack and Keith Weekend Playbook. I know Jack's an acquired taste. But when you cut through his crazy nonsense, Jack knows a lot about sports, and he's a very knowledgeable guy, and I like Jack a lot. I like busting him. I have fun going back and forth with Jack, and it's a lot of fun for me, and he's a good friend. So check out that show on Friday at 8 a.m. Eastern. I'll do the MLB update. A lot of news in Major League Baseball to talk about Friday at 3 p.m. Still trying to find a new home time for that. And then, of course, we'll be back Sunday with the Sunday Stream of Consciousness, all here on the McGrath Streaming Podcast Project. Nice, great new logo, if you might have seen on the Unprofessional Professional Sports Show tonight, honoring Mac. Hopefully, Brian will be sharing that, and we can get some stuff up with that and promote the network a little in that regard. I don't know where we're going. As a group, we'll find out. But we'll be along for the ride. In any case, my shows will still remain my shows. And you guys are the most important part of that as well. Your guys' input is very important to me. I love sharing the comments. That's why I do so many shows alone, because it's easier for me to get to the comments and make you guys all my co-hosts, and I have a blast doing just that. With that said, I do like working with the guys when I do as part of the panel. But what do we got this week? So we got another week, a week plus before we have a real playoff game. They'll start next Friday and Saturday. We'll have 4 games to kind of review, and we'll do that next Wednesday night. And we're going to be looking to find a way to get Miami to a championship. With that said, guys, Keith Engle for TGI Sports Talks. That's the time to go. TGI Sports Talks College Football Huddle. Thank you for your input. Thank you for your feedback. Thank you for participating. We will see you next week. Have a great week. Bye-bye.